That's right, everything that you just saw from the title, there's going to be a Bendy and the Ink Machine movie. Oh boy. Now, when I think of a Bendy and the Ink Machine movie, I imagine that it could be in the style of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Space Jam, Looney Tunes Back in Action, and those sort of movies where it's live action but it has 2D characters rotoscoped and animated into the real life world. And honestly, I think that would be a great idea for the Meatly to go. I mean, that would be an interesting and really cool concept of a movie. Again, it's like Space Jam, Looney Tunes Back in Action, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but it's more, it's obviously horror. And like seeing those concepts, we've seen them over the years, especially with the recent movie that came out. I saw it. I wasn't too much of a big fan of it, but I believe it was called Chippendale Rescue Rangers, which is obviously based on the much more older series Chippendale. Two chipmunks, but basically they're sort of like grown up now, and they have two different animation styles, with Chippendale being 3D and the other one being 2D. But the whole premise of that movie is, like, I think the most recent one I can remember that brings cartoon characters, whether that being 3D or completely 2D animated, into the real life world. And I only bring these up because if you remember, at the end of Bendy and the Dark Revival, Bendy himself, not the Ink Demon version, but the little small cartoon version of himself, ends up being brought into the real life world because Audrey, with herself. Spoilers, by the way. Audrey is a cartoon character. Unfortunately, she's not human, but she is instead a cartoon character, given a real life form by Joey Drew, which is his daughter. So Bendy ends up coming into the real life world not as a cartoon version, but it's 3D obviously, but it's his cartoon version self that comes into the real life world. And so now you can start to see where the two concepts of this movie plot coming together, of it being like those older movies that we've seen that Disney has done. As well as Warner Brothers. I would absolutely love the fact that if the Meatly would go in the direction with this movie. So the very first thing that I want to talk about was this image that the Meatly had released on Twitter or X, whatever. I don't even use the website, but all I know is that it came from there first. He uploaded nothing about it on YouTube, unfortunately. But the Meatly himself, he had uploaded this image that has, obviously, in the bottom right corner, you can see Bendy's hand pointing to a movie screen with a table filled with movie reels. And what's on the screen says, "Bendy is coming to the big screen." Holy frick. And I think that the company that's in there is Radar Pictures or something like that. And of course, Joey Drew, which being, the Meatly and Bendy. But I remember when he first posted this, I was freaking out like crazy. I mean, it was only a matter of time until we got a Bendy and the Ink Machine movie. With FNAF, obviously, being the first, like, I think, indie game, actually, one of the first indie games to actually get its own movie, because of its popularity over the last couple of years, obviously. But when this was first posted, I was freaking out all over the place, and I love Bendy. I love Bendy so much. I constantly do a lot of drawings of Bendy and whatnot, and just seeing this seeing this really cool teaser image of Bendy pointing to the movie screen, revealing that there is going to be a movie for Bendy and the Ink Machine, is probably one of the most sickest things that I cannot wait for. So, because I don't use Twitter/X, I can't grab the previous posts that the Meatly had made about the Bendy movie. So I'm going to have to grab some screenshots from another YouTuber. But basically, what the Meatly is saying is that the idea of a Bendy movie has been in discussions and meetings for years. It's something we knew we wanted to do at the right time once Bendy the Dark Revival was completed. Now that it's actually going to happen, I will have to turn my attention to the Bendy Broadway musical. I'm kidding! I have enough. I have enough work. I have enough to work on. New Bendy games and the movie Bendy has returned. And after that one, he says, "We are super committed to making the Bendy movie as quality, scary, exciting, and honoring to the Bendy world as possible." Smiley face. It needs to be done right with care. Now that I said the official stuff, let me just add, squee, a Bendy movie, happy crying face. Soon after, there was a tweet by Mike himself, which is also another developer of Bendy and the Ink Machine. "We will be involved in every step of the way to ensure that the Bendy movie treats our beloved franchise with the respect it deserves. So yes, both the Meatly and myself will be there making sure it is everything that we want." Oh my god. So yeah, they're actually super focused on making sure that this is done perfectly fine. Like it's going to be perfectly done right, the way how the fans want it, and it's going to be honoring the actual game franchise, and I'm assuming with some of the books too that came out for Bendy and the Ink Machine, or maybe, who knows, it may also be another completely new story. But yeah, they're going to make sure that it honors the franchise super well. And then in this next part, that the Meatly, which he seemed super excited to post, it reads, "Ugh, I really want to spill some cool news brewing about the Bendy movie, but can't. Frowny face. Not yet. Hopefully soon. Got to talk to a famous and brilliant individual today that really seems to get Bendy. Happy face. Definitely moving forward, we want to do it right." He also then says, "I really want the Bendy movie to be good. I want to make it a timeless horror film that can be enjoyed for years to come and stand on its own. It needs to have scares, depth, and be taken seriously, but not too seriously. We don't want it to be trendy, nor overly flashy. Thumbs up." Oh man, there's a lot I missed here. When it comes to the Bendy movie, I'm a huge fan of practical effects and letting talented performers bring things to life on set. Considering the complexity and fantasy of the Bendy world, I'm aiming for a combination of both practical effects and CGI polish to pull it all together. We are working with creative people who tend to feel the same. No promises yet, doing our best. After all, I'm new in Hollywood. The fact that the Meatly talks about using practical effects, along with CGI as well, but the fact that he wants to use practical effects kind of reminds me of the way of how Scott Cawthon, the creator of FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's, how he also wanted practical effects for the FNAF movie as well. And as you can tell by, if you saw the FNAF movie, especially the first one, Scott Cawthon did so well with having real life props and everything that looked just like you were looking at it from the game standpoint, but in real life, it looked so cool. And the fact that the Meatly also wants practical effects too, and with this world being in a cartoon universe, I don't honestly know how that's going to look, but from anything that I've seen in real life, especially from places, I would say mostly from Universal Studios or even places like Six Flags, those places seem to handle having cartoon characters very, very well in real life, even though it's an amusement park, but I can imagine it something like that, of how that could be the Bendy movie. It's kind of just like, I guess, walking into Disneyland, which I've never been to Disneyland, unfortunately, but I can imagine it's like walking into like Disneyland and just like seeing all these cartoon characters just walk about, you know. So while I'm thinking about it, what are you guys in the comments below thinking about? Do you think it's going to be how Space Jam, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Looney Tunes Back in Action? Do you think that the Bendy movie is going to be in that style? Because, again, I would absolutely love it if it was in that style. Or again, like how I mentioned earlier, Chippendale Rescue Rangers. I remember watching that one not too long ago. And again, while I was not a big fan of it, not too much of a big fan of it, because I think it was just sort of weird having both Chip and Dale being two different animation styles, and the pacing of the movie, I don't know. But if you guys would, like, let me know if that's how you think the movie's going to be, then I can see that you agree with me, or if you think it's going to be done in another style, which I'm not sure what other style they could go in, but if you think you have any ideas about that, then please leave a comment down below, and I would try to get to some of them, or at least the most majority of them, because I do want to read and see what you guys think about this too, because I know that us Bendy fans, we're ready once again to rise from the dark puddles, dude, just like how Bendy does every time, and kind of like how William Afton comes back from FNAF. You know, I'm starting to think that these two games are maybe alike, I don't know. Anyways, I will see you guys, gals, later.